So unfortunately, you and I are having this conversation under truly tragic circumstances, the discovery of 29 bodies in the area of Mzimba in Malawi. At this point, as the African Diaspora Forum, with the suggestion that these people were headed for South Africa, I imagine that you've taken a keen interest. What have you been able to establish from, putting through phone calls and other correspondence to try and establish what happened there?
Thank you very much to you and to the listeners. It's really very heartbreaking and devastating to hear the news of actually the mass shallow grave in Malawi of actually 4 members of the Ethiopian asylum seekers who were en route to South Africa, and also barely days after actually the discovery of another mass grave that contains 25 of them. This clearly shows us actually, the issues of migration toward the South Corridor is something that at least our leaders back at home are not taking care. Even 60 years after democratization of some of the South African nations, there is no safe passage for Africans. And the exploitation by migrants of human trafficking is something that is actually now increasing, and especially towards the South, where many Africans do see the hope. This is not the first time. This will not be the last time. We have also seen in recent days, many of them also drawing in Lake Nyasa or Lake Tanga, or actually drawn in Limpopo, some were even carried on a truck and they suffocated, and this is actually hundreds. I think it is time at least, our leaders become, selfless and not self-centered, and at least the issues of immigration and of movement of people is discussed thoroughly.
Given the connections with the large, the significant, let me say, the significant Ethiopian and Somali diaspora in South Africa, I imagine that there must be a lot of people that you represent in the African Diaspora Forum in South Africa who are of the Ethiopian community, who will be concerned about the plight of relatives possibly being among the people whose bodies have been discovered in Malawi. Would I be correct? And just tell me about the mood and the apprehension and concern within the community you represent around that potential that some of their relatives may be among the people who are dead there.
The worrying thing is that many parents whose children have migrated to South Africa will not find a closure of the missing of their children who are maybe escaping famine, drought that is ravaging in the Horn of Africa, or political or economic meltdown. It's very sad that these parents will not get a closure. They will not know the whereabouts of their children. And this is something heartbreaking that they will have to live with. But I think this is the time to engage the Federal Embassy of the Ethiopian in Southern Africa. It's also time to engage the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, also the International Organization for Migration, as well as the department at the national level that are concerned with this, so that the issue of migration can be discussed. The plight of the Ethiopian Somalis in South Africa is worse, same as also the way they come, and they're being exploited on daily basis. There is no way 25 or 29 body will be found if there is no a foul play in it. We could accept if it is the one who died of tropical disease or hunger on the way of fatigue. But 29 is a large number. We believe in the government of Malawi will get a closure into this matter, but it's now time to engage so that we can discuss these issues and the negative perspective of migration towards the Southern Corridor.
Amir, given what you are telling me and what I've been reading in the wake of this, and I must say, I've really, quite honestly, went out of my way to read up a bit more on the southern route and the issues entailed therein only now, and that's the frank admission from my side. Why do you believe that is, that the southern route issues of irregular migration don't occupy the minds of South Africans, of Africans, of the international community as as much as the issues of migration across the Mediterranean, for example, do, across the Sahel do? Because it would seem to me that the issues of violence, of exploitation, the other many dangers that are inherent in these irregular trips are just as prevalent in as far as the southern route is concerned. Why do you believe we don't talk about it as much?
No, we really do talk much about it, and they are getting a lot of attention when it comes to the dying and growing in the Mediterranean. As much as actually, much is not talked about this, but the question may be, why is actually our leaders not also following the foot of the hypocritic, actually European Union, who are actually closing the road for most of the migrants in South Africa, from Africa and the Middle East, but at the same time, could within 1 month actually, give safe passage protection to more than 3.5 million Ukrainians actually who are fled in war. Why can African leaders not even follow that and for the first time become actually, selfless and even develop a mechanism so that there is a free movement mechanism and well reception? Lastly, in the last actually 10 years, the rejection rate of actually asylum seekers in South Africa was more than actually, 96%. So if we cannot receive this, abide actually being signatories and domesticating this international relations, then we become very hypocritical. And I hope it is now actually time to engage.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights here on eNCA. That is Amir Sheik, who is the chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum. Yeah, so do yourself a favor and try and look up a bit more on this topic. I mean, we talk about migration in South Africa, but it's a conversation that's actually broader, and we should be focusing on it a bit more. The International Organization on Migration, earlier on this year, issuing out a report called Migrating in Search of the Southern Dream, the experiences of Ethiopian migrants moving along the southern route. So that is a report that you can look up to inform your view and better know some of these challenges that we are facing on the continent.